would you proactively look for a partner, or would you solopreneurship until a real opportunity emerges?
It depends on the size and the speed that you want to go. So if you want to build something really big, really fast, then multiple partners early on who have very different skill sets is the fastest way to do it. There's a reason that Y Combinator, which is a fund here that specializes in startups, doesn't even allow for solo founders.
Okay.
So just to give context there, and their sweet spot they found is like 3 or 4.
Okay.
And so that's because fundamentally with 3 or 4 really, really intelligent, really, really hardworking people that all have a stake in something, the likelihood that that thing works is pretty high because you have 3 or 4 stallions all running in the same direction with their respective skills. You've got a great dev guy, you've got a great product guy, you've got a great advertiser, you've got a good operator. It's like if you had 4 people who were exceptional, all 4 of those things, like it's tough to fail. Like you have a lot of things in your favor. Now you're splitting the pie more ways, but that's why those types of businesses tend to go after $1 billion, $10 billion plus opportunities, so that even at scale, the 25% or the 20% or whatever it is that founder has is still worth, hundreds of millions of dollars. And so it really depends on how big of a business you want and how fast you want it to be there. Like you can be a solo owner, like Sarah Blakely, for example, First Banks. She has, to my knowledge, she just sold to Blackstone, but before that, she had 100% equity in the business. She never gave equity to anybody. But she's been doing it for 25 years, right? To slowly get it to the point that it's at now. And so you will go slower because you won't be able to take people who would only come for equity. But it just depends on how many skills are required. Because the thing is as a business gets bigger, you have more cash. And so you can say, hey, I'm not going to give you equity, but I'll pay you $1 million a year, or I'll pay you $2 million a year. And so some people are like, you know what? That works for me. And so that's the give and take with scale, is when you are solopreneur, like that's why you have to build the business really well. And that's why long-term patience is so touted in the entrepreneurial community. Like my hero who doesn't know me is Mr. Panda. He owns the building I live in. And he's been doing it for 45 years, I think. He's been selling chicken. Okay. He's been selling Chinese chicken. He's worth $10 billion. He owns all of them. He has 2,600 stores. He owns them all. Wow. Yeah. And he did it in almost 50 years. It's really easy. You just do one thing and you wait 50 years.
How can you help the people that kind of, because I see it in the community, right? That there's some people kind of coming in and they're like, I just joined and I have no idea what to do. And then you try to send them to some post and it's like, I'm still overwhelmed. And then they would have to, work on their community and on their value for like 3 months, 6 months. Is there just a certain percentage of people that will inevitably drop out because they don't understand this? Or is there something you can give them to understand that that's the progression that they kind of have to go down?
So it's something that we'll probably go through. So to answer the first question, I think there will always be people who don't succeed in anything, period. The people who don't succeed at college and kindergarten, like people will fail. But in terms of us being able to increase the likelihood that more people succeed, yeah, we're going to continue to do that. And so I think a big split in the road that we talked about in the very beginning that I think we might change in terms of how we're thinking about things was, in the very beginning, we didn't want to give any very specific instructions because we didn't want to cage people in. But by not giving very specific instructions, saying here's all the different options that you can take, some people, to your point, get overwhelmed. And so it's kind of this balance of like, we didn't want to create a million schools that are the exact same thing. Yeah. But people who are new need really specific instructions. And so we have a plan that we're already kind of we're working on right now to probably have something that's like, if you are a true beginner, just do this. If you're everyone else, here's all the different options.
I love that. And I think it's potentially necessary, right? Because your first community is a burnout community anyways.
Yeah, so your first business. You have no idea. I mean, and mind you, I say this with like 54.1% of people are making money on paid communities. So like, it's good.
But what I'm trying to say is the first community you'll have is not the ultimate community that you'll stick with.
Yeah. People are like, hey, I remember somebody was like, I'm starting a community about this and no one's opting. I think I need to improve my offer. I was like, I just think no one cares. Like there's these little slivers of community, but like if no one cares about unboxing, I don't know, whatever, something crazy, then it doesn't matter how good the offer is. Like no one cares.
And I think, but I think many don't even come to the point where they're like, I think nobody cares, but reality is like there was never any traffic.
They never tried. Yeah,
I would love for everybody to at least like say, okay, now that I've set up all this community, let me at least put $100 into Facebook ads and see what happens. But that's also a shift to get there. Talking about the improvements that you make on the platform, what are some of the Are you involved in kind of those features like the cancellation process and all of the refinements?
It's more like, Sam, there's this big list of like stuff that will make people money, right?
Mhm.
And every one of them has a cost and a benefit.
Mhm.
And so the cost is the time that it's going to take that we can't do anything else from the engineering perspective to develop it and make sure it's really good.
Mhm.
And the benefits, obviously, how much it's going to make, how much money people it's going to make. And so that list, we pretty much know. And we know, like, we kind of know what we need to do for the next 2 years. Now, mind you, one of the interesting things about Skool or any kind of platform is that if you change one variable, it affects all the others.
Yeah.
And so sometimes things that we think are going to be really, really important, after we fix something 2 steps earlier, it just is no longer an issue anymore. And so that list always has to be a breathing, living list.
Mhm.
But in terms of the conversation that Sam and I have, that pipeline's pretty straightforward. And he and I will chat about, like, what do you think about this feature versus this feature? And I'm like, I would weight here. Like, I would put more weight on this one than that one. And so that's fundamentally like how we do it. But Sam really runs more of the product side.
Mhm.
I'm chief bring people in officer.
Okay.
That's my hat.
Although you have a huge passion for product development,
Yeah.
right? So,
But it's a divide and conquer thing. Like, I can't get into his stuff, and he doesn't like talk to me about my content or how I'm going to do school integrations or like ads. Like, Sam and I don't talk actually that much at all. Like, we talk like every week for an hour or every other week, and maybe we'll Slack once or twice. Like, it's we don't have, like, what's interesting is that the more proficient somebody is, the less interaction they require.
Yeah.
And so, like, I could receive the vaguest directive in the world, which is like, go build a business, and I can go do that because I have all the skills that are underneath of it. And Sam has the skill set to build a business, obviously, but also build an amazing product. And so when we were talking about doing this deal, it was like, hey, man, I will just bring the world here. And he was like, cool, because I can't focus on that. And I was like, great. I was like, but I just want to know that you're going to make this thing exceptional. And I had faith that he would. And so that's very much, in my opinion, how a good partnership should work, is very clear roles and responsibilities and clear authority, which is like, I own the stuff on the marketing side, the messaging, and how we're, everything that really people touch before they get into school is I have a fingerprint on. Once they're in school, it very much goes there. Now we talk, it's like, hey, if you say this in the ad, it's going to affect people here or whatever. Like, obviously we have that conversation, but it's really just having, that's how it should work. And even within a business, like, when you have a really good lead of X, ideally they can do it better than you. And because of that, there's nothing that you really need to tell them because they're more proficient at it. And so the only thing you really do is just communicate how their thing affects everyone else more than you tell them what to do.
So when you have a great business partner, I want to shout out Jessa Bellman, who's my business partner. She's like all on the graphic side, and she was my most successful student, and we teamed up. And we kind of also run parallel, right? Sometimes because we need not so much interaction, but sometimes it can feel like, for example, now I'm focused on the podcast, and I'm doing I'm pre-sold on Skool, a course, something that I'll later sell as a course. And it was a big kind of launch, and I'm delivering it. So sometimes I can feel like, one of us is pulling more of the load of the daily business. How do you like to kind of balance that or even communicate that? So, it feels like, although we're pulling different weights, we're kind of both pulling.
So the constraint of the business is always going to shift. And so, like, Layla and I have this kind of joke, which is just like, whenever I'm the constraint, she's relieved. And then whenever she's the constraint, I'm relieved. And so, like right now, we don't need more deal flow on acquisition.com, right? But if you are interested, go apply. But we have a lot of companies that are interested in what we do. And so all of what we're doing at acquisition.com is scaling up the portfolio team, scaling up subject matter experts, recruiting people that have big, great track records. And that's going to be more on her, right? Now I have my book launch coming up. So I'm always planning, like, I always, like, we joke is like, Layla's living in the present. I'm always living like 6 to 12 months in the future. And so I just make sure that the future doesn't get too far ahead of the present in terms of how we're talking. But when it comes to a partner, I think there has to, I think this develops in years, not months. It's like, Layla and I have been working together since the moment we met. I think it's 7 or 8, whatever it is now, years. And I've never once had a doubt of Layla's work ethic. And so, Warren Buffett talks about, you want somebody who has really high work ethic, really high integrity, and really high competence or intelligence, right? And so if you trust someone's intention and you trust their work ethic, then the only other variable is how competent they are. And so that's something that you can know, which is why you always want to, I mean, ideally you want to partner with someone better than you, always. Now they're going to so this is a good mental frame, is that you want to partner with people who are better than you, because if you feel like they're as good as you, but they're doing something that's not your core, then they're not better than you. They're not even as good as you. And so you want to marry up, but cross-functionally.
Yeah.
And so if I feel like someone's way better than me, they might be as good as me at their thing as I am at advertising and marketing, but it'll feel, because they're so much better than me at that thing, that I'm marrying up or I'm partnering up. And I think that that's really the perspective that is fruitful. If you feel like you're eye level and they're doing something that you're not good at, they're probably worse than you.
Okay.
And so just as if someone can just doing things that you already know how to do and they're going to take it over for you, that's not a partner. They need to be better than you.